They say you should be kind, compassionate, and loved by everyone. But in the brutal world of money, power, and influence, love is a luxury, and often a dangerous one. Because when people love you, they expect you to be soft, predictable, safe. But when people fear you, they think twice before crossing you. They respect your time. They watch what they say. In the real world, whether it's business, investing, negotiation, or leadership, being loved doesn't protect you. It exposes you. Too many people believe that being nice, being generous, and keeping everyone happy will lead to success. But that belief has destroyed more careers, crushed more deals, and stalled more potential than any economic crash ever could. Machiavelli, one of the most misunderstood thinkers in history, understood this. In The Prince, he wrote something that still rattles people today. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. And he wasn't talking about being evil. He was talking about survival. He watched powerful leaders fall not because they were too ruthless, but because they were too soft, too trusting, too eager to be liked. Imagine two leaders. One is kind, forgiving, always listening, always giving second chances. Everyone says they love him. The other, cold, strategic. If you cross him, there are consequences. He rewards loyalty, but he doesn't tolerate disrespect. Now a crisis hits. Who do people rally behind? The one they love or the one they fear? History gives us the answer every time. The feared one survives because love is emotional. It fades. But fear sticks. Fear makes people obey even when they disagree. Fear creates order. Fear commands stability. Love breeds expectation. Machiavelli believed fear was more reliable than love. Why? Because love is based on obligation, an emotional currency that's fragile and ever-changing. People love you until they don't, until they find a better option, until you say no. Fear, however, roots itself deeper. It doesn't rely on emotion, it relies on the instinct to survive. When people fear you, they think twice before crossing you. They weigh the consequences. Love invites hope. Fear enforces boundaries. The one loved is expected to be forgiving, generous, and patient. The one feared is expected to retaliate, and that expectation creates order. In finance, leadership, or any power structure, when people expect leniency, they exploit it. Employees slack, competitors strike, partners manipulate. But when they fear your resolve, when they know there's a line you won't let them cross, they stay in check. Fear isn't about bullying, it's about balance. It doesn't mean being cruel or heartless. It means making it clear that while you can be fair, you will not be weak. That your reputation carries weight, and if crossed, there will be consequences. This creates psychological leverage. Love might win hearts, but fear protects empires. People are inherently selfish, and that's your advantage. Machiavelli didn't romanticize human nature. He called it like it is. Most people, if not kept in check, will act in their own self-interest. That doesn't mean everyone's evil. It means everyone's motivated by gain, by status, by survival. And when you understand this, you stop expecting loyalty without leverage. You stop being shocked when someone you help turns against you. You stop assuming integrity guarantees protection. Instead, you start playing the real game. You create alliances based not on emotion, but on aligned interests. You understand people follow strength, not sentiment. In business, this is why deals fall apart when they're built on good intentions instead of incentives. It's why trust me is never enough unless the other party fears losing something more valuable. People will act loyal only if being disloyal costs them more. You must position yourself so that staying in your circle benefits them, and leaving it or betraying it feels dangerous. The irony is, once people know you see through their masks, they start respecting you more. You're no longer naive. You're not easily played. You become a force in the room, not a tool in someone's plan. Reputation is a weapon. Sharpen it ruthlessly. A feared man doesn't need to speak loudly. His name carries weight before he enters the room. That's the power of reputation, a psychological force multiplier. And Machiavelli insisted, protect your reputation at all costs. In finance and business, your name is your currency. It determines how others treat you, whether they challenge you, copy you, or avoid competing with you entirely. Reputation creates a mental image in others' minds. Are you the person who bends or the one who breaks others? A dangerous reputation doesn't mean you act like a villain. It means you let your actions speak louder than your excuses. If someone crosses you, handle it decisively and let it be seen. If you're disrespected, make the correction public, not to humiliate, but to establish precedent. Don't chase approval. Let people think twice before testing you. If they think you're too nice to fight back, you've already lost ground. If they think you're unpredictable under pressure, they'll keep their distance. Machiavelli would say, your greatest protection isn't armor, it's fear wrapped in respect, sharpened by reputation. Mercy without power is a death sentence. Mercy is noble, yes, but mercy without strength is suicidal. If you forgive every betrayal without consequences, you become a target, not a leader. Machiavelli warned that being overly merciful invites chaos. People interpret mercy as weakness unless it's backed by proven power. That's the key distinction. You can afford to be merciful when people know what you're capable of, not before. In the world of business, this means being firm first, flexible second. Let your strength be the foundation. Mercy can be a luxury you grant after your authority is clear. Think of a negotiator. If they start from a place of compromise, they'll get steamrolled. But if they enter the room as someone who can walk away, hold ground, or escalate pressure, then and only then does their mercy have weight. It's no longer seen as softness, but as confidence. You must project that energy, that you don't need to be liked to win, that being feared isn't about dominance, it's about being taken seriously. Mercy works best when people know you don't have to offer it, and that if they take it for granted, it won't be offered again. The illusion of morality is a useful mask. Machiavelli was clear. Don't confuse appearing moral with being moral. The masses want to believe in goodness, even when reality is far more complex. He advised rulers to wear the mask of virtue, generosity, kindness, loyalty, but only use it when it benefits their power. Brutal? Maybe, but effective. In the world of high stakes and strategy, the truth doesn't always win. Perception does. If people think you're fair, even while you're making cold, calculated decisions behind the curtain, they'll support you. Use this to your advantage. Be strategic in how you present yourself. Smile in public, play chess in private. Show generosity when it builds alliances. Show forgiveness when it buys time. But never forget the game being played. Because those who rely only on morality often fall to those who understand it's just one tool in a much larger arsenal. In finance, business, politics, the appearance of virtue gives you cover. But underneath, the real power lies in your ability to calculate, strike, and survive, whether or not anyone else ever sees it. Never outshine the master, but always study him. One of the most dangerous moves in any power structure is trying to look smarter, stronger, or more capable than the one above you. Machiavelli understood the threat of ego, and he warned, never outshine the master. People in positions of power are often insecure. They may smile in public, but deep down they fear being replaced. The moment they sense you're a threat to their image, they'll turn on you. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because you've made them feel exposed. So what do? You play the long game. You observe. You study their strengths, their weaknesses, their habits and fears. You learn how they rose, what mistakes they repeat, and where they feel most vulnerable. You don't challenge them. You let them feel superior. You let them think they're in control while quietly positioning yourself to win the war they don't see coming. This is how power is built from the inside, not through loud rebellion but quiet observation. You become the apprentice with teeth, the student who knows more than he shows. That's how you survive under power and eventually how you take it. Power respects power. Weakness is a signal. In any system, weakness is noticed before strength. The way you speak, the way you move, the way you respond to pressure. People sense insecurity like blood in the water, and once they do, they test your boundaries. Machiavelli's world was one of courts, schemes, and backroom politics. Our world is no different, just dressed in suits and Zoom meetings. The moment you flinch, hesitate, or over-apologize, the sharks circle. Because weakness doesn't just invite pity, it signals opportunity to exploit, dominate, or erase you. Power, on the other hand, respects power, even among enemies. You don't have to be the strongest, but you have to project control, confidence, command. This doesn't mean barking orders or playing tough. It means moving like someone who can't be broken. When you speak, speak with finality. When you decide, do so without explanation. When you're challenged, don't react emotionally, respond tactically. You must carry yourself like someone who's already calculated 10 moves ahead. Because people follow strength. Even if they hate it, they fear it. And in Machiavelli's world, that's survival. Use absence to increase respect and influence. There's power in being present, but even greater power in knowing when to disappear. Machiavelli understood the psychology of scarcity. The more available you are, the more people take you for granted. Show up too often and you become familiar. Familiarity breeds contempt. It dulls your value. But remove yourself? Suddenly they remember. They wonder. They miss your presence. Your words carry more weight when they're rare. Your silence becomes a mystery they want to solve. In business, this applies to everything. How often you speak in meetings, how accessible you make yourself to others, even how much content you share. Hold back. Make people chase your time, not assume it. Let your absence create demand. When you return with precision. With something valuable to say, something they can't ignore. That scarcity breeds influence. Because the person who's always talking becomes background noise. But the one who speaks rarely, when he does, people listen. Machiavelli would say, be a presence that's felt even in absence. That's how legends are made. Control the narrative, or be controlled by it. In every game of power, the story is more important than the truth. Perception shapes reality, and if you don't control your narrative, someone else will. Machiavelli knew that people don't follow facts. They follow stories. They follow symbols, reputation, legacy, influence. These are all built on the version of you that others believe. Not who you are privately, but who you are publicly. That's why kings used propaganda, why rulers commissioned art and monuments, not for ego, but for legacy, to control how history remembered them. In today's world, this translates to media, to branding, to how you're talked about in rooms you're not in. You must manage that story. Be intentional with your image, with what you share, and more importantly, what you don't. Let people underestimate you when it serves you. Let them believe you're more benevolent or more dangerous than you actually are. But never ever let the narrative drift without your hand on the wheel. Because in the absence of control, rumors fill the space. Assumptions grow, and power leaks. Control the narrative and you control the game. Be the fox and the lion, cunning and force combined. Machiavelli famously said a ruler must be both a fox and a lion. The fox sees traps. The lion scares wolves. It's not enough to be strong, you must also be smart. And it's not enough to be clever. you must also be capable of force. Most people lean too hard in one direction. Some try to win through brute strength, fear, and domination. But without cunning, they're predictable. Others rely only on intelligence, strategy, and charm. But when things go south, they lack the will to strike. You must be both, adaptable, balanced. In the financial world, the fox is the strategist, the one who spots the loophole in a deal, the flaw in a plan, the opportunity others missed. The lion is the enforcer, the one who knows when to say no, when to raise the stakes, when to hold firm under pressure. Together, they make you formidable. Think of the fox when negotiating, the lion when protecting your interests, when you can be subtle or savage depending on what the situation demands. You become untouchable. Machiavelli's genius wasn't in choosing between traits. It was in combining them. Be the fox, be the lion, be feared because you are both. Friends are liabilities, alliances are assets. Machiavelli wasn't sentimental. He didn't believe in blind loyalty or lifelong friendship. In his view, friends, real emotional attachments, were vulnerabilities waiting to be exploited. Why? Because friends expect favors. They assume you'll put them above logic, above strategy, above the mission. And when you don't, they resent you. They feel betrayed. But alliances? Alliances are based on interest, not emotion. They're transactional, flexible, and most importantly, expendable when the balance tips. In the world of power, the mistake most people make is confusing emotional bonds with strategic alignment. You promote a friend into a role they're not qualified for, and it blows up. You invest in a brother's business out of loyalty, and it fails. Why? Because you ignored the rule. Interest sustains relationships, not love, not history. You must shift from emotional networking to strategic alliance building. Surround yourself with people whose success depends on your success, where both sides win and both sides lose if they turn. That's loyalty forged in consequence, not comfort. In Machiavelli's world and ours, that's the only loyalty that lasts. Chaos creates opportunity. Be the calm within it. When others panic, you must calculate. When the storm hits, you must be the eye, still silent, watching. Machiavelli thrived in turbulent times because he understood one powerful truth. When systems break, rules disappear. And when rules disappear, so does order. And that is where new leaders are born. Chaos destroys the weak, but for the prepared, it reveals cracks in the structure. Cracks that can be filled, controlled, capitalized on. In today's terms, this means you don't run from economic downturns, you study them. You don't panic when companies collapse. You watch who benefits. You don't avoid conflict. You navigate it with precision. While others chase comfort, you chase clarity. Chaos doesn't scare you because you've trained for it. You've built the mindset, the discipline, the edge. And when the world loses its balance, you become the one others lean on. Not because you're kind, but because you're composed. And that composure makes you rare. Rare makes you valuable, and value in a chaotic world becomes power. Loyalty is temporary. Influence is eternal. Loyalty is often seen as the highest virtue. But Machiavelli would disagree. He saw loyalty as fleeting, given in moments of strength and taken away in moments of weakness. People are loyal to what benefits them, to what protects them, to what elevates them. When those conditions change, so does their loyalty. That's why you can't build empires on loyalty alone. You build them on influence, on your ability to shape decisions, guide actions, and stay relevant in every room. Think of it this way. If someone is loyal to you, but you lose your influence, their loyalty won't save you. But if you maintain influence, even among enemies, they will still consider your position, your voice, your power. Influence lasts longer than allegiance. It seeps into minds, changes narratives, and affects outcomes. Loyalty is an emotion. Influence is infrastructure. One is borrowed, the other is built. Your goal should be to create a gravity field where people orbit your presence not out of devotion but because you control the pull. Predictability is a weakness. Uncertainty is power. If they always know your next move, they can always prepare for it. That's why Machiavelli preached unpredictability. Be consistent in discipline, yes. Be stable in vision. But never let people see your next move. Predictability creates comfort, and comfort leads to disrespect. But if they don't know whether you'll reward or retaliate, they tread carefully. They don't play games. Because uncertainty breeds caution, and caution breeds control. This applies in everything from negotiations to leadership. Don't always say yes, don't always say no. Be strategic. Occasionally contradict expectations, not for chaos, but for clarity. Keep your opponents off balance. Keep your followers attentive. Let people wonder what you'll do next. Not because you're erratic, but because you're unreadable. Predictable people are manageable. Unpredictable people are ungovernable. And in Machiavellian terms, if they can't predict you, they can't control you. The end always justifies the means if you win. This is the heart of Machiavelli's philosophy, and the most controversial. The ends justify the means, a phrase that makes some recoil and others sharpen their blades. But he wasn't suggesting evil for evil's sake. He was saying this: if your goal is survival, if your mission is dominance, if your cause is greater than the chaos required to achieve it, then do what must be done. Morality is a tool, not a master. It should be used where it works and set aside when it doesn't. In the real world, nice guys finish last because they follow the rules even when the game changes. Winners adapt. They bend, shift, maneuver. They do what needs to be done, quietly, decisively, and without apology. History remembers results, not hesitation. So if you must choose between looking good or winning the war, always choose the war. Use strategy, use manipulation if needed. Delay peace, accelerate conflict. The mission comes first, because in the end, it's not how you played, it's whether you're still standing. And in Machiavelli's world, the survivor writes the rules. Look around. The most powerful figures in history, from emperors to CEOs, didn't rise by being liked. They rose by being respected. Respected only because they understood fear. Think of Steve Jobs, ruthless with standards, feared in the boardroom. Think of Elon Musk, unpredictable, decisive, unrelenting. Even in modern politics and finance, it's the Machiavellian minds that dominate, not the soft-spoken idealists. And yet they're still celebrated, still admired. Why? Because people don't follow those who beg for love. They follow those who make them feel something stronger: respect, reverence, fear. If you're ready to stop being overlooked, if you're done playing small in a game built for giants, then study this code. Learn it, live it. Because power doesn't wait. It doesn't reward kindness. It rewards clarity, ruthlessness, precision. Subscribe if you're ready to build not just wealth, but influence. Like this video if you know it's time to stop chasing approval and start commanding respect. And share this with someone who's too busy trying to be liked, to see they're being used. The game isn't fair, but if you understand it, you never have to play fair to win.